so hard to stay so positive. I know how it feels. It just takes time. Something's gotta give. Don't let the negative seems like years since you've known happiness. So down, so long. So calm your fears and just out just take the
Yeah. Yes. Yes. That was uh that was Life by the Bridles of Destruction. Uh, yeah, it was Bridles of what is it? Bridges of Destruction. My husband gave me that song. He likes that. Um, there was another song that I could have played. It called "Shut the Fuck Up," but I asked my husband to give me the one that he liked the most, and he liked that one, Life. Yeah, so that's that. Anyway, good morning. Good morning. Happy Friday. For a lot of people out there, today's the last day of work. I always like Fridays because of that. I notice on my last jobs, most of the time I get off. Oh no, I work Saturday too, so Saturday is when I get off early, but not Friday. Anyway, it's Monica, your friend Monica. Now you know that I'd like to do something called TMI, too much information, and today is no different. I'm gonna give you a TMI. If you remember, about 8 days ago, I told you that I took a Benadryl, and for me, when it comes to allergies, I think I'm suffering from allergies. I don't understand. For a girl, for a person that grew up in Africa, where I was exposed to all kinds of germs, why I'm developing allergies, I don't understand it. It's really frustrating to me. Because I like to think that no germs can attack me. Because, hey, I'm an African. And that's what you do. If you can survive to adulthood from Africa, that means that your immune system know what's up out here. But apparently, not always. So I suffer quite a bit. I cough now, very strange cough, and you can tell it's something that's bothering my immune system. So I don't take Benadryl every day because it has serious side effects. In fact, don't let my mom know that I took Benadryl. She really don't want me to do that. But nothing else works though. When I do take Benadryl, yes, I will be a little drowsy for half of that day, but it does do the effect. It just feel like I can get by for a little bit. So that's what happens. So if you see me less intelligent today, you see me less alert, no, that's what's happening. It's the Benadryl doing the thing on my human body. Now, not typically, almost every time you see me on the stream, and the last one is said, in the last, I don't know, maybe 15 days, I always start the show with what's happening in the world. Well, a lot is happening, and a lot always happen on planet Earth. But I've had a few things to talk about in terms of what happened in the world that I picked up from the mainstream. Because my husband now has the NBC until the Olympics finish. But I won't be talking about the mainstream. I'm going to go back to the leftist perspective. Yes, the leftist perspective. So, in UK, for this Palestine genocide, there was an organization, they call it Palestine Action. So it's Palestine Action. So it's a group of activists, radical activists. Oh, hold on, give me a second here. Okay. Now, so it's a group of activists, Palestinian activists, people who wanted to stop the Palestine. And what these people do is they go to manufacturing of weaponry, and they will disrupt, they will paint all those things, do all kinds of vandalism or stuff. They will go to, I think, libraries or school and just destroy what I call white degenerates, or you can also call them colonizers. They will do stuff like that. Well, the UK is fascist, even though they like to give us the veneer civilization, but they're straight up fascist. They have outlawed this Palestinian group, right? So they have done that. So because they say they quote unquote terrorists, whereas these people have not killed anybody, they're just destroying quote unquote private properties. They have not done that, but these white degenerates are committing a genocide in Palestine. They have killed over 680,000 people in Palestine since 2023. They're not terrorists. Those are not terrorists. The terrorists is the people who are trying to stop it, right? So this morning, I got that we received a tweet from, I think, a court in UK. Right? It's a quote in UK, and I'm gonna read you that quote. Okay. Well, actually, no. Well, yeah. There was a court order. However, this lady, and I think she's a parliamentary person in UK. Her name is Sabana Mahmood. Okay. I'm gonna read you what Mrs. Mahmood said this morning. Oh, wait, hold on 1 second. I think I misspoke here. Anyway, I don't think she's advocating for Palestine Action. But let me see. I think her tweet is interesting. And I just want to see what Sabana Mahmood said. This is what she said, and I'm quoting here. The court acknowledged that Palestine Action has carried out acts of terrorism. It concluded that its actions are not consistent with the democratic values and the rule of law. Supporting the Palestinian cause is not the same as supporting the Palestine Action. The government proscription follow a rigorous process endorsed by the parliament. I will fight the judgment in court appeal. Okay, yes, she does. She does advocating for that. So this bitch saying that, and you can call her whatever. These are disgusting animals. So she's saying that we supposed to respect rule of law. Now, bombing a hospital to me is you breaking the law, and they have obliterate every hospital in Gaza Strip. Okay, so that's against international law, right? That's that. Right, bombing bakery is also breaking the rule of law. Now that's what these white degenerates are doing in Palestine, so they can wipe out the indigenous people of this area of the Levant, the Palestine, and replace them with white degenerate. This time, the eration of so-called these Jews, white Jews. Okay, so now you see, this is what we're talking about. This is how you have to think. Like that's how I've left this thing, right? These people who we have dramatized the whole planet Earth. Meaning, if you live in a state that cannot defend you, like most states on planet Earth, you now have been reduced to a creature, okay, a creature that could be eliminated anytime by these white degenerates because they don't respect any norm, any rules, because for them, we live in the law of the jungle, okay? But in UK, this bitch gonna tell us that these activists are somehow terrorists, right? They're the terrorists because they're saying, hey, these weapons we're gonna drop on babies in Palestine. We don't want that shit, right? That's what we don't want. But that's not terrorism though. That's not. The people who make weapons to be dropped in Palestine, those are the good guys, and they're following the rule of law. They're following the rule of law to have these weapons to commit genocides, right? Now that's what the Palestine Action was doing. It was going to this weapon manufacturing and spray paint them and just be obnoxious stuff, the kind of things that a true activist would do. Didn't kill nobody. Nobody died. But that's saying is that, see, UK is a piece of garbage. Unlike my brother-in-law, the minor character Tom, who don't want to go there because they have people color and he afraid of criminals. I hate that country. It's disgusting. It's just a waste of space on earth, okay? It's a piece of trash, okay? Because we are led to believe these people have civilization when in fact all they are is a fucking criminals, okay? These are people who have killed so many people, billions of people on earth. They profit, they live at the blood and sweat and extermination of worst people, but somehow they continue to do this every day, insulting our intelligence, insulting us as if we don't understand what's going on. Anyway, that's enough of that. I just gonna calm down. That's it. But now you get it. So now it's the activists who spray paint and do stuff to stop weapons that are gonna go kill people. Those are the terrorists. But these white degenerates who literally live in stolen lands like in U.S., exterminated native, right? Enslaved African, they're not terrorists. Those are the good guys. And that brings me to my family drama. Anyway, yesterday, what happened yesterday? Yesterday, I spoke about, again, the principal character. And it was an interesting day yesterday because I was concerned that my husband was getting depressed with this whole thing because the way his family have operated. Now, for my husband, you have to understand he's a white guy. He is a white guy. And like regular white people, their understanding of racism is very, very minimal. Or it's superficial. And I'm not going to just say just white folks, almost majority of people. So for them, the way they understand is racism is this way. Is somebody call you a racist name, something that is associated with that group, right? For example, if it's Muslim, you would just call them terrorists, right? That's type of thing. So, if you regular white folk, for example, which happen quite often, a white person call a Muslim person or somebody they perceive to be Muslim, call them terrorists. if you are a decent white person, you will feel bad about that. You will feel upset about that. And you will say, hey, you know what? Fuck you. They're not terrorists. You should stop saying that, right? So that's understood. That's just 90s, at least at this level, so-called civilization in the West. That's what we are with this. Just the majority of white folk, we would just not like you, like somebody over there in the bakery in the line, and you just randomly calling them name. That just seems unpleasant. It's just not cool. So that's that. But that's the understanding of what is what they think is racism, right? Because that's just blatant racism. That's offensive. Now, for most white folks, though, yeah, they're not gonna feel good about that. But if it's Donald Trump, right, who's in the street saying that he's gonna put a ban on Muslims, they will be like, okay, cool. Now, because now it's an abstraction. It's just a Muslim, and for the most part, they want to keep this country as white ethnic state, a Christian one, if they can, So they would be like that. Not all white people, because honestly, there's a sizable, maybe I want to say 10 or 15% who would have nothing to do with that, because fuck that shit, we just don't want it. Some of them, and I'll share that view. I just don't want any ethnic state, not at all, right? Or religious garbage, just not a thing for me. So they'll be okay with that, because why would I say that? Now, before Donald Trump, I wouldn't think so. I didn't think they'd still this primitive, in other words. I mean, I really had, yes, I know they're racist and stuff, but I just didn't know that, oh my God, these people really mean business, right? Like, serious, they are serious racists. The white folks still very racist. And why would I know that? I mean, we look at the data who voted for him, right? We did. The good thing about US, they will find out who is who did what and what, right? So we know overall he got the vote amount. All the white demographics, they all went to him. Every single one of them. White, poor, white, rich, white, everything white. Everything white. I mean, Donald Trump is the most popular white president we have in a while, okay? And then we have had quite a bit of white stuff. So they went to him. And why did this happen? Because there's a backlash from Barack Obama. Although Barack Obama did an extremely good job with white supremacy. I mean, Donald Trump can never mess that. I mean, the white supremacy that Barack Obama did is so sophisticated. Just like him, he's an extremely sophisticated guy. And he understands U.S. history. He's a constitutional scholar. He is, he's an American guy, okay, Barack Obama. See what I mean by this cough? He just did, like, amazing things for them. Like, for example, for Barack Obama, and I get this from Glenn Ford, who now has passed away, at the Black Agenda Report. Like, for example, if U.S. invade a country, for example, it only constitutes war if a U.S. person died or something like that. Like, a U.S. soldier is dead. That's when it constitutes invasion. But if you kill a bunch of people, the local, that's not a thing. And that's an innovation from Barack Obama. That stuff, right? So he did, like, all kinds of shit, But despite that, for average white folk, they don't care. All they know is this. He's dark. That's essentially what it is. He's dark. Now, we know that Barack Obama, yes, he's a mulatto man like me. He's quote-unquote black. If you have read his books, I read his Dreams of My Father. I read that book. I like that book. You know this guy, he is white. And by that I mean, like, he had a white experience. Literally, he had a white experience. An experience that average white folk go through, right? That's not an experience the majority of black people we go through, though. That's not my experience. I have some white because I'm a mulatto born in Spain and stuff. But I have had black experience most of my life, right? So sometimes when I argue with black people, who they will say, well, Barack Obama, he just, they just, give him excuse because, he just didn't, they will excuse his behavior, because he didn't have that black experience. So according to some black folk, this is my understanding, if you didn't go through black experience, then you cannot do stuff that is not just good for black people, but good for people, right? That's I think it's stupid, and that's fuck that shit. Like, you don't need to go through the black experience to do right by human beings, right? Like, no, he chose to be like that. And maybe he needed to be like that because he know what he was dealing with. Like, literally. And I'm telling you, this, now I don't excuse that because he did a lot of harm. A lot of harm. And I can't, like, seriously, this is my opinion. If you decide that you want to be the president of the U.S., if you decide to do that, I mean, the most disgusting, evil country on earth, if you decide that, right, you cannot be afraid to die, essentially. If you're a person of color. If you a person of color, you cannot be afraid to die. If you really want to make an impact and transform people's life, you have to be willing to go about it, okay? Not this thing because you knew they're gonna hurt you. Because even if they hurt you, in my opinion, it's worth it, right? That's just. But I'm a revolutionary thinking like that. But Barack Obama, when he was president, like, I would be at work and I'm working I'm a servant and stuff. Like, for example, I used to work at Jewish synagogue, and I see white security guards, white police. They were disgusting. I'm telling you, they were like, they couldn't wait till somebody put I'm gonna tell you some of the things they wanted for this man were unbelievable. I was just like, and then they act like they're not racist, but I was like, oh my God. I mean, the visceral, the hatred for that man is unbelievable. They didn't want him alive. Let's put it that way. So I know what's going on. We also know that it was like 150 or 100, a higher number of white supremacist militias. Like, he just radicalized white folk, right? Now, why would they be like this? Why they radicalize so much? Because this literally eloquent, intelligent, awesome guy who came from white family, from a single mom, right? That's from Kansas, the middle of America, right? Literally, like, raised by this, that. So if you want to kill him, you're killing white people's children. And just, that's the primitive of white folk. I cannot get over it, okay? So that's why I'm with this, okay? So I'm at this. They're just primitive. And that's why I think my family play is important. And I know, for example, for my husband, sometimes, like he say, he's feeling like, okay, these are like too personal and stuff. I don't get up to too personal. The bottom line is this. I want to narrate the story, and I hope somebody out there is hearing me out and see why I will have issues with trying to equate people, and I'm talking about hosts of human beings who doesn't subscribe to their fucking whiteness. And then we now see them not as individual complex people, but as something that need to be discarded and disposed, okay? Now, going back to Donald Trump, look what happened with Donald Trump. He knows that. Now, Donald Trump is extremely, I want to say stupid, okay? He just trash, okay? Like, he's not smart, but he is very smart in one aspect, and that's marketing, okay? He knew that he know how he's gonna gain these people. He made a big fuss about Barack Obama birth certificate. He called Mexican a rapist. He degraded women. He did everything. That he knew that by doing that, it's gonna energize the white masses, right? And as a result, he won the presidency. Now, when that happened, right? If you're an intelligent or person of color, right? You'll be like, okay, I don't like Barack Obama either. Like, I didn't like him because this is a guy that it did stuff. Like, for me, in my perspective, why I don't like this man is this. He went and married what I consider a very unattractive white woman, a black woman named Michelle Obama. I just don't like that. And she did it for strategic because he wanted to win black women, right? So, because in the Democratic Party, the strongest, more energized voter group is black women. And black women, although I love them very much and everything, there are some things that really annoys me. And then to this thing that a black man need to be with a black woman, but not just a black woman. It has to be less. Like it has to be have this kind of features like Michelle Obama. So Michelle Obama fit the pictures. Now for me, it's disgusting. Okay, like seriously, let people choose whoever they want to be with for romance. I don't care. I'm not here to try to preserve the black race or any race. I'm just here for people to have good life, like happy lives or whatever, like that's not politics. That's some weird stuff that you guys would just stop. So that turned me off. So they did a study, find out what would get black women to be on board with him. And that was that. He needed to get a black woman, but not just a black woman that like Michelle Obama, not very attractive, but ambitious, so to speak. She's like seemed like an alpha woman or some shit like that. The kind of caricature black woman, right? Like this, like angry black woman type of thing. Even though she's not an angry black woman, but it doesn't matter. It's all about perception. So he wouldn't find her like that. And then I think at the time he had a white girlfriend, and then maybe it's a good thing he abandoned that and then went with this shit. And I'm just like, that is the kind of shit that just disgusts me. So I just didn't like Barack Obama. I don't like it. I don't like, and then they're trying to give us this bullshit that, oh, this is a perfect black family. Look at, they have 2 cute girls. That he never committed a crime. Like, Barack Obama has a perfect record, okay? Nothing wrong with him. Now, the only thing wrong is for white folk, but for black people, he is perfect. Despite the fact that he had a politic that would never benefit black folk. Right? Like he insulted us. He said that we don't know how to pull our pants up. That's where we had the problems and stuff. He's gonna share his stupid politics with Bill Cosby and shit. And so that's that. Now, why I'm saying all of this? I'm saying all of this because it explains U.S. society, right? It explains U.S. society. So politics is reduce these superficial shit instead of structural problems we do have, right? We have a problem here that we barely making it, even though this is a very wealthy country. A majority of us, we not the Barack Obamas or the Michelle Obamas of the world, or the my mother-in-laws who live in a 3-car garage or stuff like that, right? We struggle with rent. We struggle with food. We struggle with the basic necessities of life. And a lot of that is based on these racial and classist attitudes, right? They know we're struggling and they can fix that. They're not doing that because if we do that, it will make less money for them or something. I don't know, right? So it's just like our life keep getting worse and worse and worse and worse, right? So hear me out. This is what I'm getting at. So when it comes to like a family like my husband's family, right, for example, and I'm looking at what they're doing here, I'm looking, okay, this is my husband's family. I see what they're doing here. And I give you an example. I've been going, like I say, for the last almost 10 years to this Christmas party with them. And then we do have, like, when my husband and I was, before we got married, I stayed here. So the party that I used to go is the one with the whole family, with the Garris family. So I'll go there, and they may not notice that I'm there. Like literally, I feel like I'm just like an invisible man, like Mrs. Allison, Ralph Allison would say. But I am there, and I'm watching it, and it's really fun. We do always changes. It's so much fun. Everybody's good. So that's one party. So we do that. But there's another party on the side that my husband used to go exclusively with the Augustine family. Now I didn't go to that one. I never did. Maybe my husband didn't want me to come because, uh, I don't know, because it's just them. They're probably gonna give each other gift, and that's just the thing or something. I don't know. I don't care. Right now, within this family, it's only family though. It's only family. I'm just thinking of it like this. If you've been paying attention on some of my other episodes, I'm like, okay, this family, all right, everybody is white there except me though. Everybody is white. This would have been such a perfect opportunity for them to invite their black friends or their Latino friends. Like, what's up with this, right? And and I don't see that. For the whole time I've been going to this party, I really never see. I don't think, I never even heard my mother-in-law, for example, say anything that she befriend maybe at work a black somebody or anything like that. Other than what I have told you, what her dad used to do. As a result, I actually now sympathize more with her dad, who had then passed away. Because although maybe he didn't have a lot of black friends, or whatever, or maybe I don't think he liked black people very much, but something about this man, something that just connect with me, that he just he was conflicted. I think he was just like, he knew he needed to do something to go out there, and I really don't know what context, to give black people money, right? And to me, that's some sort of a human. I think that is something human about him. Okay. Now I'm not saying you should be having like a petty, for people or anything like that, or treat them like that. No, but I'm just saying that maybe for white folk, they don't even know where to start with this, and because of that, we have this chasm, extreme chasm, where it's just like they're not exercises the empathetic muscles, so to speak. It's like there's just something really sad about it for me. I mean, we seriously have issues here where the U.S. as a state is so violent, so evil, so destructive, so it's just like, I feel like, okay, it all starts with us here in this country, and I think like our lack of concern for other people is what does this. I mean, I just read you on what happened in the world with the lady in UK. They call it activists, the terrorists, when in fact these active Palestine action are trying to stop Palestine, a genocide. I just feel really sad that now genocides, like in the one in Palestine, is the most well known. The one that they literally live stream, that is the strongest thing in our brain. But however, the state, right, is still getting away with it. And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that white folk just have not rebelled. If they really did care, I think this shit would have turned around, right? And so for me, as a person who think about this thing, I'm just like, well, where did this come from? Why is this, right? Now we know U.S. is a settler colony, right? This is a settler colony, and what happened here is they have settler mentality, and the settler minds and the settler psyche is that the indigenous just need to be eliminated to make space for them so they can be safe, right? So safety is very a big deal for them. And for them, the only way they can feel safe is that the darkest people, the people they have relegated as unhuman, right, could be removed. It had been normalized. And I'm trying to disrupt that within this family and tell them, look, listen, you, Tom, the minor character, you're not entitled to go anywhere that is safe because you profit from the unsafety of others, right? That's what I'm saying with this, right? That's really what I'm after, right? And for my mother-in-law here, how can I say this? I don't think my mother-in-law is racist. I just don't think that. I mean, not in a conventional way. I think that she knows that black people are just people. I think that, but she just rather not deal with it or something. I'm not sure. The reason I know that she's not literally racist, and for example, in the case of me and my husband, she's not doing this because I'm a woman of color. I think for her it's just capital. She just want to preserve the richness of the family to go through her preferred people, which is her granddaughters here. And I know that because I remember one day my husband and I, we went to her house, and my husband was saying something about charity, like leave money to the charity, right? I don't know where he picked that from. I think he learned it from work or something. And then I noticed my mother-in-law is like, what, charity? Look, I don't have a charity. I have grandkids. And then she pointed out Emily was there. So for her, I don't think it's really that, right? And as you can see with Shana is a white woman, right? And, and if you watched the episode yesterday or the one before that or something, you'll see that I just like, okay, well, fine, it's not gonna go to these other kids, your biological grandkids, but it's gonna go to Shanna though, and she has kids, and those are also families. So for her, it's just not that. It's just to preserve the resources within the Augustine family. So that's what that is. Now, as for as for what she think about black people, black folks, something like that. This woman is really, even though as you can see in the last couple episodes, it's just like I said, she has been reduced at this point, unless she does something to turn this around. I don't know what she may do. If she wants to, I don't care. That's her decision. She does something like this. For example, see, one day when we were in Colorado, we were sitting on the living room. I can't see as about my father. She asked about my dad. And she's asking, okay, so will your dad marry or something like that? And I told him, no, my dad never married, actually. My dad never got married a whole day. He was just a straight up bachelor his whole life. He was just a bachelor. I don't know other men are like this, but my dad was like that. But I do think my dad, towards the end of his life, and I spoke with him, she asked about my mom. My dad did. He asked me about my mom. She told me, and something I never heard him say his whole life. He said that, even though she's no longer my woman, in Spanish we say señora, I'm sorry. I don't know why it made me cry. I don't like to cry. I'm so sorry about that. So my dad, towards the end of his life, he last month before he died, he had cancer. He had cancer on his liver. My dad has a mom, and I had to admit, my whole family there in Africa, they love my mom. They care. They like her. They call her Mari. My mom is named Maria. And she said something that even though she's no longer his senora, which is his woman, that he cares about my mom. That's what my dad said. And when my mother-in-law asked me that about my dad, well, I just thought, you know what? My dad was this kind of man, like a bachelor. Yeah, this is a bachelor. This is a guy who really lived life to the fullest, right? He's not a kind of man I want to be involved with because I think that is a headache, okay? It is straight up, you're going to have a headache, big time. And I don't need that. I love my husband. He's like, we have routine, we get coffee, we do stuff. It gives me peace of mind. I can't handle that kind of stuff. I'm not having it. I can't even date him more than I date. But my dad was like that. He was a bachelor, and he never got married. And that's, as I said one of the episodes, he have 15 children. And I think that for most black men, so not most, I don't know what the numbers are, but I do think that's an experience uncommon to black people though, because even like my dad's brothers, who more or less have quote unquote nuclear families, they do have a lot of children outside of their marriages, and it's just normalized in Africa and everything, but and one thing about African is this: even though they marry and then they have children outside with some other women they sleep with and stuff, then the woman, the wife, typically had to accept those children as they just accept everybody. And that's why with my dad, when my dad died, and then one of that girl, the 35-year-old so-called daughter of his, they said that was his daughter, and she made a big fuss, which pissed me off. They was trying to say, oh, and then they're trying to say that was my dad. I don't think my dad ever knew about this girl. I don't think so. Not for my dad's family. They just say, okay, yeah, that's my dad's daughter. Don't you see she looked like her? I didn't think she looked like her. Like, she's very dark skinned. My dad was very dark skinned. Just because somebody very dark skinned don't mean that's my dad's child, though. That's how I feel about it. And I was like, no, because no, I'm not having it. She making this humiliation for my dad here, and I don't like it. I made a big fuss. I got mad at everybody because I felt like that was crossing the boundaries and lines that I don't need here. But anyway, going back to my mother-in-law here, when she asked that, it told me that this woman really is curious about black people or black life or black attitudes or black something, right? That's what I picked up from her. Because when I first started dating with my husband, for example, that's something he did. Like, for example, when we first started dating and stuff, and I don't know, this is a long time ago. He would say something like, "Oh, the reason black folks have issues is because the black people don't have fathers," or something like that. They live with a single mom, right? Because the single mom is a bad thing, right? And they don't have the father, so to speak, right? And I mean, I didn't argue with my husband, but I have this abuse him of that notion. It has nothing to do with fathers, but it doesn't. It has nothing. It's not because they have a single mom. As you can see, I think every child is a child of a single mom. I don't care if they have a father. If the single mom is not doing what she was supposed to do in the house, I'm not saying all fathers may have issues or anything. Nobody's perfect, but I do think that a human mother is the most foundational to human child, and really that's it. And the father just supposed to be there to support the human mother, though, if they can. So the human mother is good to go with the whole raising the father, and that's how I see. And it has nothing to do with that. It just have to do with the fact that black we live under white supremacy. We live under capitalism. And if you remember yesterday episode, I was saying that capitalism is white supremacy because it's a system that's already captured by disproportionately white folks. They control the thing. They own the thing. That's the thing. And us black people, it's almost impossible for us to even come anywhere near them. Because first of all, they also have reduced us as something beneath human, like I've been saying. We are now subject that, for the most part, we had to always pick. We have two choices, either annihilation or dignity, right? So a system like that has to be reconsidered, right? It has to be reconsidered because if we truly care about all people and not just white folks, that cannot stand. That's what I meant with this. It just can't stand. It's these capitalist relations. It starts within the family, like we see here, right? Those women, my mother-in-law, if she has her way, she is yearning for those two girls. But she doesn't have a yearning for my children. That she never even said, hey, Monica, why don't you bring your kids over and say, so I can meet them? I never met them. That's never come in her mind. That's not a thing. Because why is she didn't do that? Although she know more or less human or stuff, it is something about her that just I don't know. I don't want to psychological her, but I do think just something is off, right? Now, let me say one last thing. This is my last point before I go to my reading, Dr. Parenti, because I want to read those sections today on that book. What happened here? Oh, I forgot. Let me see. Okay, during this Christmas time, this last Christmas, we didn't have. We usually go in the last couple of years or so. We go to her house for Christmas, but we didn't do it this year. But I knew it was gonna be the Christmas day, and I knew that these girls may not have somewhere to go. So because she wasn't gonna have it in her house, so I invited those two girls to come with us to my mom's house, which they didn't want to come. They wanted to go there. But what I found out later from Lacey is that they didn't go into because something was with her that they couldn't go there. But instead they went to Christine. So it was there, these two girls and Christine. Now, if you have been paying attention with these two girls, that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. They now willing to be open-minded, right? Now, they knew that the grandmother is not gonna be there. They're not gonna be there, right? Right? Sure, I don't mind you go with, and then she will have company or what have you. But instead, you went to Christine, though, right? So I invited them, and they would have a great time because there would have been my mom there, my stepdad there, my children, their boyfriends and stuff, and it was just really. My husband was there with me. We had a great time, and I put videos and stuff. They didn't do that. It's this. Now, how kids like this will ever have sympathy for black folk? How, like, this is what I'm talking about, right? So, yeah, like my husband would say, like, we not have problem because we don't have black fathers. To the extent that we don't have black fathers, quote unquote, it's because we under the pressure of our ruling people, which is the white folk, the white colonizers. We not like we don't have freedom to choose what we want to really be in life. We have to maneuver the best we can within the system that's very repressive and oppressive. In fact, a black man, if it has any sense, can just be anywhere however they want. They always have to monitor, like Du Bois said, it's like a double bind, right? To do consciousness consistently, right? So an individual like that, they're very occupied with the psychology. How do you expect them to be a good father and a good husband and all of that? You know, let's just start seeing black men, black people in general, as people, as our fellow humans that we should want them to have good lives. It's, you know, not just your life, right? Now, going back to what I was saying about the Christmas thing, I thought about this. I really did. A lot of the things that I'm complaining about here, right, is the fact is this. This is the fact it is. It's that white folks just need to get out of their comfort zone. They do. They need to get out of the comfort zone. Because if they do not, and by that I mean, like, if you have been paying attention to my last few episodes, the one with my daughter, and I think episode 16, if you're on YouTube, that's episode 16. And episode 19, which I talk about the shadow of this house. Those kind of, you know, like human beings, we are social creatures, right? We just a product of our culture, of our mindset. We just cannot keep, living comforts at other people's expense. We just cannot. We need to stop reconsider what we think we're doing here, right? We do. And think about what you're really teaching your kids and your grandkids, right? All right, so Lacey is crying and she's gossiping about Layla and Isabella, right? For example, if you're my mother-in-law. And I'd be like, okay, fine. You don't like the disrespectful, what have you. But, hey, that are your father, girlfriend, children. So, hey, you work it out with them. I don't care. Those are your that's your family, something. I want them to start thinking like this. And when you think like this, you do what I'm calling. You move yourself from primal to something higher. And for that, we're going to read Dr. Parenti. All right, so today we're going to start a new chapter. All right. So today we're gonna read two sections. We're gonna read the first, the end of Marxism, and some durable basics. Okay, hopefully it's not too long, cause I don't like to go too far from 1 hour. An hour and a half is good. Okay, let's start. The end of Marxism. Some people say Marxism is science, and others say it's a dogma, a bundle of reductionist, unscientific claims. I would suggest that Marxism is not a science in a possible sense, formulating hypotheses and testing for predictable, but more accurately, is social science, one that shows us how to conceptualize systematically and systematically and why Dr. Brandy put them systematically and systemically. Okay, That's the point. You know, I use the English language. I tell you that I give you that. I just don't know how to think of it. Well, let's keep going. Moving from the surface appearance to deeper, brighter features, so it's better to understand both the specific and the general and the relationship between the two. Marxism has explanatory power that is superior to mainstream bourgeoisie social science because it dealt with the imperatives of class power and political economy, the motive forces of society and history. You hear that? You hear that? And whenever, that's why I don't want capitalism, because look, for the majority of white, the powerful, the middle class, white folk, they're just not trying to hear. If you're trying to reform a little bit, like quote unquote DEI, the diversity, equality, and inclusion, they start to woo, they run with it and say all kinds of shit. And I'm like, there's nothing you can do in the system that they wouldn't undo and destroy. Because this is for them. These people have really convinced themselves that. And I think Marco Rubio, you know, the Secretary of State or some shit like that, that piece of garbage. He's literally, I think in some of the papers, some of the newspapers, he have literally come out and said this. That worst people, you know, the non-white, these settlers people, these white degenerates like I call them, just need to accept that, hey, your position in life is for you to be a slave, okay? Not in those terms, but basically that was what he was saying, okay? And if you don't accept that, for example, Cuba does not accept that, right? If you don't accept that, then you have to be dealt with. You have to be annihilated, right? If you don't, like Palestinian, why you think they want to exterminate Palestinians? Because Palestinians say, I'd rather be dead than put up with this bullshit. That's what it is. They don't like that. They don't like that. So I don't want capitalism because honestly, as I already, and if you leftists, you read these papers who actually gonna say the truth. The bottom line is this: we're gonna keep having these genocides unless we get rid of capitalism. We're gonna keep having this genocide, and I'm telling you, you gotta get used to the genocides. Okay, if you're not. If you don't want a genocide, you better start wanting this shit destroy capitalism, like burn it to the motherfucking ground. If you don't want genocide, because let me tell you this: at this stage of capitalism, this is what's happening. Even if, let's say South Africa, like I said, they don't like genocide, they take them to the court, whatever, and then as a result, they have punished South Africa. You know, that's basically to have it re-enslaved them, and now South Africa gotta go along with this, right? Because for them, if they don't go along, South Africa economy will be trashed, right? Which is also going to come with genocide, right? Now, even for China, yeah, we know China. Look, do you see China really doing anything? No, because there's a sizable amount of people in China who just going to be like, let's not rock the boat. In fact, a lot of those pages that went off in Lebanon that killed a bunch of innocent people, like a phone would just blow on your hand. Those were devised in China. They were. The settler colony with these white degenerates, Israel, are intertwined with them. As we can see, I already said with Russia. So this is a system, it's all encompassing with capitalism, that even if you don't want it, even if you just don't want it, there's no way you can disinvest from you. So the only thing we can do is burn it to the motherfucking ground. And that's what I meant with this, right? Because the forces of this forces thing, it just have taken over. So a human life is meaningless, okay? And I'm telling you, the majority of world people and African thinkers, just so you know, black folk, we're extremely intelligent. Yes, there is African intellectuals. There's, okay? Really is. And he said something, I forgot, it's necropolitica, right? Necropolitica is these creatures, they have reduced you on this planet, that you gotta make that choice. Which one do you want? Do you want a dignity, right? If you want dignity, you better be prepared to die, because you will be dignified in death, or you can, or if you, yeah, dignity or annihilation, right? Then baby, and if you want dignity, you're gonna be annihilated. But if you don't want, if you okay with non-dignity, right, then you just gonna be a slave. Just like white folk come here, steal all your shit, don't complain how you being treated and what have you, and it would be fine. Just be slave, right? Let's just go along. Let them have everything. Let them, you die the way my dad died, with no health care and stuff, and suffering, no medicine, no shit, like that, right? It's just what they want you to accept. And that's the system here, because it just I'm sorry, this cough. It's just like for example, I remember years ago, another Uber rider, a young white guy, told me, the problem about this war is just, it's just like, what are we gonna do? We have to sell this weapon. It's just, it's like, it's impossible not to have wars. In fact, that was the argument when the kids, the students in this university were protesting. That was the thing. Like those New York Times reporters and shit, they were so-called reporters, stenographers. They were complaining that, okay, those students are just being disruptive, and they should not do that. They should just try to understand, right? Maybe they can make an impact within the system, because when they do, they just, in other words, my understanding is this: the students need to understand that genocide, warfare, killing people and stuff, is what we do here, and they need to be on board with that. Okay, they need to be on board with that, because that's the thing. That's the power of this country. Like, literally, the people who actually run the shit. That's what they're about. Like, you cannot stigmatize slaughtering children, women. You don't stigmatize that, because if you do, then how are we gonna make money? How are they gonna live in a 3-car garage and what have you? Right? How are we gonna maintain this pristine, beautiful white family? Right? That's what it is. So don't stigmatize that. They're supposed to do that. So my mother-in-law can have her portfolio full of money, so she can live to her grandkids. That's what it is, right? That was the and I kid you not. That's the argument. That's the argument. Extermination of brown black folk. It's supposed to be. That's the thing. That's what we do. Don't complain about it. Now, part of the reason the ruling class was really freaking out, because the kids who go to these elite universities, as the kids, those are the future rulers, right? Those are the bourgeoisie people's children, okay? The upper middle class who can afford to send them, and they've been going to private school and stuff. And the kids were just having they just couldn't take it, and they were mad because the kids now, oh my God, our future colonizers not on board with our meshes here. And they had to crush it. That's why you have not seen any protests, even though they continue to exterminate Palestinian people mercilessly. In fact, they are doing the same in Sudan, they're doing the same in Somalia, and they are exterminating. And then now they want to do in Iran, well, we just saw in Iran and stuff like that. And they look what they're doing in Venezuela. And now they're doing in Cuba. That's what you see. No protests, because the kids have been thoroughly disciplined. Okay? And it starts with a white family, right? Like this one over here, where they don't ask questions, they don't demand. The expectations are so fucking low. It's ridiculous, right? And just like, that's what that's why I don't want the system. I want a system that I concentrate on the dignity of the human being, right? That's what we don't want it. So my mother don't have to work this hard. to trying to keep the money because it must be a lot of work for her. She want to make sure her two sons who procreated children for her can do this to maintain it within the Augustine family into perpetuity, right? That's really what she's doing here. That's what she's really, really doing. She don't want the money to go to Marquez with the Ramirez's and the Loomises. That's not what she want. She want that money to go to the Augustine, to these two girls, right? And to me, that's too much work. That's too much work for because me as a leftist, me as a communist, if I don't have sons, I have all daughters. You know, if I have something, now obviously my personal stuff, like if something happened to me, my husband would give it to my kids because that's the most important thing. Just like over here, I have my dad phone, I have my dad Bible, I have my dad some personal effects, some papers, books, stuff like that. Those are sentimental things. Those are things that I love about my dad and stuff. And so I'm not separating from those things. So if something happened to me, my husband probably will give it to my daughters. And I like to think that my kids would like to keep my books because they know I love books, some, pictures and stuff, like stuff like that. Now, maybe my clothes, my kids like my clothes because I have a style like my kids and stuff like that, right? So some personal possession. And that's it, and honestly, that's really what it is you need. Because my kids, that's why I make sure they go to school, they learn how to be good citizens, so they know how to survive. I don't think my kids aren't going to struggle like I have been, hopefully not. They know how to do the thing, they know how to go to work, get money, and pay your stuff, right? And that's it. That's it. I'm not interested in my kids being millionaires. It's not a thing. It's not. It's just not a thing. I don't care about being millionaire. I don't. Right? Anyway, so that's what I'm talking about. But anyway, let me go back. So anyway, what I wanted to say there is that when you communist, it's just less work. You don't think about it. You only worry about, if, like for example, my kids, they get married. They're not married yet, but they do. If, say, for example, Pilarina married Braulio, and Pilarina made more money than Braulio, for example, and something happened to them, I'm not going to be stressed that, oh my God, Braulio's going to take money from Pilarina. I'm not going to do that. I know the way my daughter is. She'll be fair, right? She'll be fair. She'll give him whatever he's entitled to or what have you, and that's it. Those are my ethos, and I would like these people to think like that. Like that's really what I'm just trying to elevate this thing. But anyway, let's finish up. I think I'm just gonna read one section, and then we'll pick up some durable basis tomorrow. All right, so let's see. What was that? Okay. The class basis of political economy is not a subject for which mainstream social science has much understanding or tolerance. You hear that? That's a good quote. The class basis of political economy, because this is a class, and the dominant class, the class basis of political economy is not a subject for which the mainstream social scientist has much understanding. In 1915, Lenin wrote that, quote, the bourgeoisie science will not even hear of Marxism, declaring that it has been refuted and annihilated. Marx is attacked with equal zest by young scholars who are making a career by refuting socialism and by decrepit elders who are preserving the tradition of all kinds of outgrown systems. Close quote. Did you hear that? That's exactly right. That's why it goes on and on and on and on, right? That's what it is. They don't even trying to hear. That's Donald Trump right now. What essentially is doing, he want to commit genocide left and right so he can quote unquote get rid of the Marxist countries. And I have talked about Marxist countries. If you don't know, go back on my episodes, right? Because for them, they don't even want, like if you listen to the Republican Party, they don't want you to. They don't believe about class war. That's why they have this fight between Democrats and the Republicans, right? Because it's simplistic. It's blue and red, right? It's not. But the true war is class war, right? The fact that some people have so much at the expense of others. They're literally stealing from the humanity for themselves, right? They're corrupting. They're trying. First of all, they're trying to do things that prevent them from playing by fairly. Play fair. They don't think fair. They just think about themselves and how we can gain the system. That's why some of the episodes they have suppressed. I thought things like, for example, we have so-called selective enrollment that's supposed to have teach all the kids, and that's not like the most highly educated, the intelligent kids. No, they do it like based on class because they know their class is gonna produce the kind of people will go there, right? Because they want to send the kind of kid there. They don't really want, although they will make a room for the poorest kids in the city, for example, but they want so little of them because they want to perpetuate the class to be perpetual slave, right? For them, they want that, they need that. That's the thing. But the privileged classes, they're always going to be privileged. Once you're in that class, they expect you to stay there until the end of time, right? And we have to talk about that because, and if we don't talk about it, we cannot fix it. But the reason why we don't talk about it is because they don't want us to talk about it because it is gonna it's gonna advantage other people. Which, if you, the thing about capitalism is this is what capitalism is about. In order for you to feel superior, feel good, somebody else has to be beneath you. Somebody is they don't think of human as equals, right? You have to have the best healthcare while other people just have no healthcare. For example, you have to have shoes while other people. And if you read Dr. Fanon, The Wretched of the Earth, he talks about this. So, some of the imagery in that book is where, the colonizers, they wear the better shoes. Their shoes last. They just have better things, right? And everything about them is just nice and pretty. And the rest of us, we are disputable people, We were born anywhere and we can die anything. We just nothing, right? Now, for that person to be like that means we exist though. These nothing people had to exist to make you unique, to make you something special, right? And that's what capitalism does. It does that. It gives you that contrast. And then you can justify like, oh, I'm this way, so awesome. Because, hey, because I did the right thing and these other people did the wrong thing. That's that. So capitalism does very well. And not only that, with capitalism is this. Like, I know, for example, I've been listening, I haven't done it in a while, in Zimbabwe, right? In Zimbabwe, I think the economy there is doing better something. And this is a funny thing about Zimbabwe there. It's the fact that there's, like, the less educated, the poor, no, I'm going to say the poor, like, the less educated are doing better with money. They just have more money than the highly educated. Because it's a capitalist system there where they can work, I don't know, the lumber, so whatever industry is there that's paying well. Yes, they don't have college degrees or what have you, but they are having more money. And so it's making the educated in that country feel a little bit inferior in a way. Because these less educated people are educated or something there, like these, they are white people in Zimbabwe. They own a lot of stuff and everything. But I think it's something happened in Zimbabwe, and I this has been like a couple years since I heard it, and I thought it was interesting because not necessarily educated, but the people who would expect should, like in US, they have good jobs and stuff, and they just do better than the rest of us. But in Zimbabwe, some of the people, they now don't have as much as the people who do like manual labor or something, because those jobs are being paying well, right? And they are complaining or something like that, right? And so what creates that? Who cares? If, say this person do a manual labor and they getting paid more than you, it's just like, who cares? Like, as long as all I want is just people to have enough money to have the lives, a good life, so to speak. And we see that a lot with capitalism. For example, when they talk about minimum wage, the right wing like to complain because, oh, let's not increase the minimum wage because, so that means that when I go, these people who do the manual labor for us, they don't deserve it or something like that. They just like they're stupid, and this is like, why are you gonna pay them more? Now the business owner is the one who gonna be struggling, trying to come up with the money to pay this. They should just work there. So for them, they don't value work. Okay, they say they do, but they do not. Right. So the business owner is more important, right, than the workers there. Right. Because if they do that, it's gonna cut into his profit. And my thing is this: let's get rid of that. Then the business owners don't have to worry about it, right? Let's just pay people, right, and then make a business owner irrelevant. That's just how. But that's capitalism for you, where the landlord, for example, the Supreme Court will say, hey, we can do this because it will stigmatize the landlord. We cannot let the tenant, because it's a pandemic, go another year because it's not good for the landlords. Not mind you, this is a house somebody is living in, an individual is living in the house. The landlord, quote unquote, own the house, and he's not doing anything. A house is just there, and then so this person who live in there, it has less right than the landlord. My thing is, I don't give a fuck about landlord. He can just stop being landlord, just like the house, and the person who live in it take care of everything, But that's capitalism. The Supreme Court always gonna side with the capital owner instead of the individual who need the good for their subsistence, for their life. But anyway, let's finish this up. Over 8 years later, the Korea's scholar are still declaring Marxism to have been proven wrong once and for all. As the anti-communist liberal writer Irvin Ho put it, quote, the simplistic formula of textbooks, including the Marxist one, no longer hold. That is why some of us don't regard ourselves as Marxists, close quote. And this was reported in Newsday on April 21st, 1986. Here I want to argue that Marxism is not amore or simplistic, only the image of his entertained by the anti-Marxist like Hope. Okay, and we'll leave it there. Now, this is so good. Dr. Brinton is awesome. We will be reading Dr. Gabriel Rothwell book. I seriously want, I want to go to Dr. Rodney, but I think we will pick up this Who Paid the Bible Western Capitalism by Dr. Gabriel Rothwell after this, because I just want you to understand how the things we think is quote unquote left are manipulated to perpetuate a capitalist system that is so destructive, that have genocide, slavery, abuse, make people racist, make people afraid of other people, like my brother-in-law, who are afraid of quote unquote black criminals and shit. I just wanted us to engage with that work. I think Dr. Gabriel is doing something so fantastic, something we haven't seen for decades, okay? And I think that is a good book. I love how Europe underdeveloped Africa. We have read some of that, and we have read the Open Banks in Latin America, which is, we know why these people are underdeveloped. So essentially, those books talks about the underdevelopment of Africa and Latin America. But these books talks about how the capitalist owners or the rulers of this racist white supremacy capitalist system operate to legitimize the power. And that's what those books are important, because when we understand them, then we can be full with stupid arguments, like they go to give it a veneer of intellectual thing. We cannot be fooled. We can be sophisticated, and we can lift ourselves from what I call the primal to something higher. And with that, we're gonna listen to our last song. Please subscribe to my channel. Please, I have not got a subscription, not one, in many years, many days now. Please, 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 I appreciate that if you do that for me. And like my videos. And the video yesterday, the whoever's monitoring Facebook did something. They let people see it, but not many. I know that. I know what they're doing. I know they're doing that, and I'm not stupid. I know what they're doing, but it's okay. The more they do, I think that they're not trying to give me the pleasure, because when they heavily suppress it, I feel like I like it actually, because I know that they don't like those ideas. And for me, I'm not interested in being popular. I'm interested in exposing the contradiction, exposing the lies, exposing, what's sick and how we operate within the system. And I'm trying to what I'm trying to do here essentially is this. I want you to sympathize with people they deem evil, and I want you to have contempt with the people that seem they're good people like me. That's what I want. I guess I'm trying to convert you to myself, and because I like myself, and I want us to keep it that way. Anyway, we're gonna listen to Victor Jara Manifesto. Free Palestine.
Yo no canto por cantar, ni por tener buena voz. Canto porque la guitarra tiene sentido y razón. Tiene corazón de tierra y alas de palomita. Es como el agua bendita, santigua glorias y penas. Aquí se encajó mi canto, como dijera Violeta. Guitarra trabajadora con olor a primavera. Que no es guitarra de rico, ni cosa que se parezca. Mi canto es de los andarios para alcanzar las estrellas. Que el canto tiene sentido cuando palpiten las venas del que morirá cantando las verdades verdaderas, no las lisonjas fugaces, ni las famas extranjeras, sino el canto de una lonja hasta el fondo de la tierra. llega todo y donde todo comienza. Canto que ha sido valiente, siempre será canción nueva. Siempre será canción nueva. Siempre será canción nueva.